All right, you guys are clearly fascinated by Elon Musk. We got a ton of requests for this one, and we're ready to dive in. Okay, so rockets, electric cars,
Yeah.
even brain chips, I hear. Where do we even begin with this guy?
Let's start at the beginning, like any good story. Elon Reeve Musk, born June 28, 1971, in Pretoria, South Africa. Not exactly Silicon Valley, is it?
Not quite. So what was young Elon like? Any early hints that he'd become, well, Elon Musk?
Even as a kid, he was obsessed with computers, taught himself how to program, actually sold his first video game at age 12. It was called Blastar, some kind of space game, apparently.
12 years old?
Yeah.
I was barely figuring out how to use a joystick back then.
Yeah, this wasn't your average kid selling lemonade, got $500 for that game. Early signs of the entrepreneurial spirit, I guess. And I think that's something a lot of our listeners can relate to, right? That drive to create, to build something from nothing.
Especially guys our age, maybe feeling a little stuck in their careers, thinking back to when they were kids, full of big dreams. So, programming prodigy, young entrepreneur. What happened next?
Well, his family life was a bit complicated. Moved to Canada with his mom, later to the U.S. Interesting side note, there was a period where he actually worked in the U.S. illegally.
Worked illegally. That's not something you hear every day about a billionaire CEO.
Came up later, of course. He went on to study at the University of Pennsylvania, but dropped out to chase his business dreams. Sounds familiar, right?
The classic Silicon Valley dropout story. Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. Risky move, but I guess it worked out for them.
Risk seems to be a recurring theme with Musk, and it's a theme that resonates with a lot of guys I know in their 30s, 40s, maybe thinking about making a big change, starting a business, switching careers. You got to be willing to take a chance.
Okay, so college dropout, ready to take on the world. What's the first big venture?
Zip2 founded it with his brother, Kimball. Basically an online city guide, way before Google Maps or anything like that. Businesses could list themselves, provide directions, that kind of thing.
Ahead of the curve, for sure. But I heard he was basically living in the office during those early days, sleeping on the couch, showering at the YMCA.
Yeah, classic startup grind story, all-consuming dedication. You gotta be willing to put in the hours, sacrifice some comfort to make the dream happen. Inspiring, in a way, but also...
Maybe not the healthiest lifestyle long-term, huh?
Exactly. Gotta find that balance. Anyway, he eventually sells Zip2 to Compaq, makes about $22 million from the deal. Not bad for a first outing.
Not bad at all. What's next for young Elon with money in his pocket?
Well, he doesn't just retire to a beach somewhere. He jumps right into his next venture, X.com. This one was all about online financial services.
Online financial services. Back in the late 90s, wasn't that pretty uncharted territory?
It was. But again, Musk seems to have this knack for seeing what's coming, spotting those emerging trends before they hit the mainstream. He understood that the internet was going to change everything, including how we manage our money.
And that's a valuable lesson for anyone, right? Being able to anticipate what's next, spotting those opportunities before everyone else.
Absolutely. So X.com eventually merges with a company called Confinity, and together they become...
PayPal. Now we're talking. I mean, who hasn't used PayPal these days? It's practically a verb at this point.
Right, and Musk played a key role in making that happen. He understood the need for a secure, easy-to-use online payment system, something that was crucial for the growth of e-commerce.
So we've got risk-taking, vision, and a killer work ethic. Not a bad combination for an entrepreneur, but at this point, he's already achieved what most people would consider a wild success. What keeps him going? What's the next challenge?
Well, he could have retired comfortably, for sure. But Musk isn't driven by money alone. He's got bigger ambitions. He wants to change the world, literally. And that leads him to space.
Space. Like outer space.
You got it. In 2002, he found SpaceX with the ultimate goal of colonizing Mars, making humanity a multiplanetary species.
Whoa. Now that's thinking big.
Yeah, this wasn't about launching a few satellites or sending a tourist to space. This is about tackling one of the biggest challenges imaginable, establishing a permanent human presence on another planet.
But how do you even start with something like that?
For Musk, it started with recognizing the limitations of traditional space exploration. Government programs were slow, bureaucratic, expensive. He believed the key to making space travel more accessible was reusable rockets.
Reusable rockets? Like launch, land, launch again. Isn't that incredibly difficult?
It was considered almost impossible at that time, but Musk believed it was the key to bringing down the cost of space travel, making it more frequent, more sustainable.
And he actually pulled it off, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those Falcon 9 landings, watching that rocket touch down vertically, it blew my mind.
It was a game changer. Suddenly, the idea of routine space travel, of reaching Mars, didn't seem so far-fetched. And SpaceX has achieved some incredible milestones along the way. The Dragon spacecraft, the first private spacecraft to dock with the International Space Station.
Yeah, and they're developing Starship now, that massive rocket designed for those long-haul Mars missions.
Starship is the next phase in Musk's space vision. It's designed to carry up to 100 people to Mars and back. Ambitious doesn't even begin to cover it.
So he's aiming for Mars, revolutionizing space travel. But let's be honest, what most people know him for down here on Earth is those electric cars.
Yeah, Tesla. That's where he really entered the public consciousness, became this kind of tech celebrity.
Okay, so we've got the guy who wants to colonize Mars, and he also wants to change how we drive. How does Tesla fit into this picture?
Well, he wasn't the founder of Tesla, but he became an early investor and later the CEO. He saw the potential of electric vehicles, not just as a niche product, but as the future of the auto industry.
But back then, electric cars were kind of a joke, right? Slow, clunky, not exactly stylish.
Exactly. But Musk saw it differently. He understood the need for sustainable transportation, to move away from fossil fuels. And he also understood that to get people to embrace electric cars, they had to be more than just good for the planet. They had to be cool, desirable, fun to drive.
And Tesla delivered on that, didn't they? The Model S, the Model 3.
Yeah.
These are cars that people want to drive, not just because they're electric.
Exactly. They've become status symbols, almost. And it's forced the entire auto industry to take electric vehicles seriously.
And don't forget about that Cybertruck. I mean, love it or hate it, it's a statement. Definitely appeals to a certain kind of guy, right?
Yeah, the Cybertruck is a perfect example of Musk's willingness to push boundaries, to challenge convention. And that's a theme we see again and again throughout his career.
It's been a wild ride so far, and we've only just scratched the surface. Space travel, electric cars, what else is this guy up to?
Oh, we've only just begun. We haven't even touched on Neuralink, the boring company, his foray into social media with Twitter.
Sounds like we've got a lot more to unpack. Okay, we're back, ready to dive even deeper into the world of Elon Musk. Last time, we left off with SpaceX and Tesla, his ventures into space travel and revolutionizing the car industry. Pretty impressive stuff already, but you guys sent us a lot more to cover.
Right, and that's what's so fascinating about Musk. He's not satisfied with just conquering one industry. He's got his hands in all sorts of pies, tackling some pretty wild challenges.
So let's unpack some of these other ventures. Where do we even begin?
Let's talk about Neuralink. This one gets into some serious science fiction territory.
Neuralink. I've heard the name, but I got to be honest, not totally sure what they do.
They're developing brain-computer interfaces.
Brain-computer. Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me. What exactly does that mean?
Essentially, it's about creating a direct connection between the human brain and computers. Imagine being able to control devices with your thoughts, or even download information directly into your brain.
Whoa. Download information. That's some next-level stuff, like straight out of the Matrix.
It sounds crazy, but the potential applications are huge. Think about helping people with paralysis regain control of their limbs, restoring lost senses, treating neurological disorders.
I see the potential. But man, it also kind of freaks me out. What about the ethical implications? Privacy concerns?
You're hitting on some big questions. Who controls the data? What happens if this tech gets into the wrong hands? What does it mean for our sense of self, our humanity, if we're essentially merging with machines?
Definitely food for thought there. Okay, let's move on to something a little less mind-bending. The Boring Company. I remember hearing about this one. Tunnels, right?
Yeah, tunnels. Sounds simple, maybe even a bit silly, but think about it. Traffic is a nightmare in so many cities. Wasting time, polluting the air, just a huge drain on our resources.
So Elon's solution is to just go under the traffic.
Exactly. The idea is to create underground transportation systems that bypass all that congestion. Faster, cleaner, more efficient.
They've actually got something up and running in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, the Vegas Loop. It's a small-scale demonstration, but it shows the potential. Passengers ride in Teslas through these tunnels under the city.
I've seen videos. It looks kind of cool. Yeah. But they also had plans for these bigger projects in Chicago and LA that kind of fizzled out.
Right. Those projects face some big hurdles, political pushback, funding issues. It highlights how tough it is to implement these ambitious infrastructure projects, even with someone like Elon Musk behind them.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got brain-computer interfaces, underground tunnels. This guy really does like to tackle the big problems. But there's one area where he seems kind of conflicted, even a little scared. Artificial intelligence.
Yes, AI. He co-founded OpenAI back in 2015 with this goal of making sure AI benefits humanity. But he's also been one of the most vocal critics of the potential dangers of AI.
Right. I've heard him talk about AI being an existential threat, like some Terminator scenario.
He's definitely not shy about expressing his concerns. He's argued for careful regulation, ethical guidelines. He even stepped down from the OpenAI board, citing disagreements over the direction of the company.
So he sees the potential of AI, but he's also worried about the unintended consequences,
Yeah.
the possibility of it becoming uncontrollable.
Exactly. And it's a debate that's only going to get more intense as AI gets more powerful. It's something everyone needs to be thinking about, not just the tech geniuses. AI is already changing our lives in so many ways, and it's only going to accelerate.
Okay, so we've got brain-computer interfaces, underground tunnels, the future of artificial intelligence. It's clear Elon's not afraid to tackle big, complex issues. But there's one area where he's been particularly active and controversial lately: social media.
Yes, Twitter, now rebranded as X. That's been a wild ride.
It's been hard to keep up with all the twists and turns. He buys a company, fires a bunch of people, changes policy seemingly every other day. It's been chaos.
He came in with this idea of promoting free speech, but then he starts banning certain accounts, making changes that seem to contradict his initial stance.
Yeah, it's been a mess. And it's raised some big questions about the power of social media platforms, the role of content moderation, the responsibility of these tech giants.
It's a conversation we all need to be having. Elon's actions with Twitter, whether you agree with them or not, have certainly put a spotlight on these issues.
Okay, so we've got rockets, tunnels, brain chips, AI, and now social media. It's clear Elon Musk is a force to be reckoned with. He's not just an entrepreneur, he's a cultural phenomenon. But there's another side to this story, right? The man behind the myth.
Right. Elon Musk, the person, the father, the partner.
Next time, we'll explore that side of Elon Musk. Stay tuned. We spent the last 2 parts exploring Elon Musk's ventures, his ambitions, his drive to push the boundaries of technology. But in this final part, let's shift our focus and take a closer look at the man behind the innovations, the person behind the headlines.
It's easy to get caught up in the rockets and the electric cars and the AI, but at the end of the day, Elon Musk is a human being with all the complexities and contradictions that come with that.
Right. He's not just a CEO or an engineer. He's a father, a partner, a public figure. And that means his personal life is often just as much in the spotlight as his professional achievements.
And it's a personal life that's been, well, let's just say unconventional.
That's one way to put it. Multiple marriages, a large family, public breakups, very vocal opinions. It's a lot to unpack.
His first marriage to Justine Wilson, for example, has been widely discussed, particularly in the context of his demanding work style and the challenges of balancing a high-powered career with family life.
They had 6 children together, a blended family, but tragically lost their first child to the sides. It's a heartbreaking reminder that even with all the wealth and success in the world, life can throw you some incredibly painful curveballs.
It's a side of him we don't often see, the vulnerability, the human side of this larger-than-life figure.
Absolutely. After his divorce from Justine, he went on to marry and divorce actress Tallulah Riley, not once, but twice. Then there was the high-profile relationship with musician Grimes, which also ended somewhat dramatically.
And let's not forget the twins he had with Siobhan Zillis, an executive at Neuralink. It's a pretty unconventional family structure, to say the least.
Definitely not your average family dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's led to some scrutiny, discussions about work-life boundaries, the ethics of relationships within a company.
It raises questions about power dynamics, consent, and the blurring of lines between personal and professional lives, especially when you're someone as influential as Elon Musk.
It's complicated, for sure. And then there are the more public disagreements, the tensions that have played out in the media. Specifically, his relationship with his transgender daughter has been a source of controversy and heartache.
His views on gender identity and his use of terms like woke mind virus have alienated some, while others defend his right to express his personal opinions.
It raises a difficult question. Can we, or should we, separate an individual's personal beliefs from their professional achievements? Do Elon's personal views on social issues impact how we see his companies or the value of his work?
It's a debate that's been raging for a while now, and there are no easy answers. Some people might choose to boycott his products because of his personal views, while others might argue that his innovations and contributions to technology outweigh his personal shortcomings.
It's a reminder that we're all complex individuals, full of contradictions, capable of great things and not so great things. And when you're someone like Elon Musk with his level of influence and visibility, those contradictions are magnified 1,000-fold.
So where does this leave us? What's the final verdict on Elon Musk? Is he a hero, a villain, or something in between?
I don't think there is a simple answer. He's a brilliant innovator who's pushed the boundaries of possibility in ways we never thought imaginable. He's inspired countless people with his vision, his ambition, his willingness to take risks.
But he's also been criticized for his leadership style, his treatment of employees, his sometimes reckless and insensitive behavior. He can be arrogant, dismissive, and seemingly tone-deaf to the concerns of others.
He's a paradox, a walking contradiction, a force of nature who leaves a trail of both admiration and controversy in his wake.
And perhaps that's the most accurate assessment of Elon Musk. He defies easy categorization. He's a brilliant mind, a flawed individual, a complex and enigmatic figure who has undoubtedly left his mark on the world.
His legacy is still being written, and it will be fascinating to see how it all unfolds in the years to come. What will his companies achieve? How will his innovations shape our future? And how will he navigate the personal challenges and public scrutiny that come with being Elon Musk?
It's a story that's still being written, and we'll all be watching with anticipation and perhaps a bit of trepidation to see what happens next.
Well, folks, there you have it, our deep dive into the world of Elon Musk. We've explored his achievements, his controversies, his triumphs, and his failures. We've delved into his companies, his ideas, and even his personal life. It's been a wild ride, and we hope you've enjoyed the journey.
We've covered a lot of ground, but one thing is clear. Elon Musk is a figure who compels us to think, to question, to debate. He's not just a businessman or an engineer. He's a cultural phenomenon who forces us to confront our own beliefs about technology, innovation, and the future of humanity.
So we leave you with this. What are your thoughts on Elon Musk? What surprised you? What resonated with you? What questions are you left with? And how do you see his impact shaping the world we live in? Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.